This is Gigi Berardi reading from FoodWISE. I'm actually wearing my overalls. I've just come in from milking my dairy sheep. Currently milking 4, probably will be milking 3 in the near future, having found a good home for a milking sheep and a couple of lambs. I'm going to read from FoodWISE. And this is still the introduction, reading in the introduction. Then I have a newspaper article I'd like to highlight, and some newspaper articles which I have not given you the links for. But basically, I have been reading hospitalization and death statistics for the city of New York, where my daughter is going to school from her apartment. And she is taking and teaching classes online. And the statistics for New York City, which are pretty dramatic on coronavirus-related deaths, suggest how important it is for tracking and testing, or testing and tracking. So I'm going to try and focus on my soliloquy here on how important it is to try and sort through information to come up with a reasonable estimate of what's going on in our world. Yesterday, I ended talking about that leg of mutton stashed under the thatched roof above the smoky peat fireplace of an old Scottish cottage, if you will. And it would have provided whole and wholesome, if tough, food many weeks after slaughter. For centuries, people in Italy produced salamis and sausage using only natural preservatives such as salt, pepper, and spices. That was whole food. But today's common commercial practice of preserving meat with additives such as nitrates and other chemical compounds yields a product that can only be considered adulterated. Terms that were used at the end of the last century in forming public policy. I just riffed on that. Okay, nitrates, for example, are used partly to enhance the red color of meat products and make them look more appealing. They also inhibit growth of bacteria. Nitrates, however, are not a remedy for poor plant processing hygiene. Turn of the century food safety laws, what I was just talking about, including the Pure Food and Drug Act and the Federal Meat Inspection Act, both of 1906, were meant to prevent adulteration and mislabeling of foods and encourage good hygiene and sanitation in plants. Chilling and certainly freezing fresh meat or cheese slows bacteria growth and enzyme breakdown. It's a form of processing that allows food to be transported across long distances, kept reasonably fresh over time, and made available to consumers worldwide who don't have daily access to fresh meat or carrots growing in their gardens year-round. Foods handled in these ways certainly can still qualify as whole, even though some aspects of their makeup have been altered. By contrast, pasteurizing milk to kill pathogenic and spoiled microorganisms renders it less whole. There are several methods of pasteurizing. Vat pasteurizing at a lower temperature for a longer time preserves more physical and chemical properties of the milk. The milk is, for example, more suitable for cheese making. It's more reliable for cheese making. The key to maintaining the wholeness is to not add foreign chemicals to enhance flavor, appearance, or shelf life. I am not interested in ultra-pasteurized milk that can last for months, even if it is organic. Yes, it works economically. Ultra-pasteurizing enables long-distance transport and long shelf life, which is necessary for some consumers in remote areas. And yes, if such treatment results in a lower price for organic milk, albeit from the largest scale producers that reap the greatest returns, then sure, That low price is appealing to many of us, but does cheap need to be the default? I am fortunate to live in a region with options, so I'd rather buy something fresher, not ultra-pasteurized, something that's the product of probably a lot more pasture than used by big organic farms. More expensive? Yes. And so I just drink less. Drink less of it. With all the nutrients that sunlight, real grass, and grazing cows have packed into that milk, in particular, desirable fatty acid profiles, I have concluded that I can drink less and still get the same healthy results, which somewhat mitigates the additional cost. For me, the choice is a combined question of values and economics and reflects my FoodWISE approach. And if I can't get those nicely pastured foods, which of course I'm enjoying now with my sheep, but before then, in the age of coronavirus, what am I going to eat? The non-pastured animal products, of course, in a heartbeat. I'm going to eat what I can get my hands on. And that's my recommendation. Because we have to make not just sustainable choices, but sane choices. And so there is something in the book I call the FoodWISE override, which has to do with making sane choices. But what goes hand in hand with that is what and where our choices are coming from. What choices are we given? And so one of my themes has been in talking about coronavirus and how we're working in this age of coronavirus, is that information is key. And so we have to sort through the information that's out there. And the link that I've got tonight is on an article which looks at our economics, talking about the worst depression of all time. I don't know, worst depression since the 1930s, the Great Depression. Estimates of downturns in the economy vary dramatically, wildly and widely, I say. So it's very difficult to plan. In order to plan, we need to have reasonably accurate or meaningful projections. Seems like we're dealing with the coronavirus era on a number of fronts. The first front is, of course, identifying, controlling, containing infections and treating to the extent that we can, to the extent that we have the resources. But another front is definitely trying to plan and project into the future, because certainly there is a very clear dichotomy right now. People with jobs, people without jobs, people not contributing to the economy for a number of reasons, people who are contributing to the economy, at least at this point in time. That may change. And so my goal now is to look for reasonable projections and see where it is that people, regions, municipalities are planning for continued coronavirus infection rates, whether they're leveling off, whether they're taking a downturn right now, whether they're tacking up, and how to plan for all contingencies. So I hope you enjoy this article. It's part of my ongoing search.